Welcome to the What's Our Verdict TV podcast, where we fashion ourselves television judge and jury. My name is JJ Crowder, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Matson Heiner,
Better read than dead.
Ian Anderson,
Some shit.
and Jay Vinson.
Hey, guys.
Do you ever find yourself wondering if you should take the time to set your TiVo to record a show each week, spend the money on that streaming service, or invest hours into binging that show that all your friends are telling you to watch? Well, we're here to answer that question for you. We put TV shows on trial, discuss the facts, pass judgment, and let you know our verdict. To check out our other episodes, if you're joining us on Facebook or Instagram after our live, you can head to our website using the link in our bio. If you're on YouTube, the link's in the description down below. You can also listen to us wherever fine podcasts are found: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Ghana, just to name a few. And as always, it's free to listen. Today we're reviewing Chapter 13 of The Mandalorian, The Jedi. So let's jump in, guys. First things first, to me, this episode opens right out the gate with a bang, introducing us to the Magistrate with Michael Biehn. This show gets the greatest sci-fi actors to come out of retirement or pull them out of obscurity, like Michael Biehn from Terminator. All I could think about was he gets his Johnny Ringo moment at the end of the episode, which was awesome.
Are we talking about the guy that was the soldier for hire, basically at the base?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I know I've seen him somewhere, but thank you.
Yeah, that's
Wasn't
Michael
he like the
Biehn.
sheriff
He's
or something like that?
Yeah, kind of. Like, they don't tell you who he was per se in the episode. My assumption is kind of like what Matson talks about. He talks about being a hired gun, like getting paid at the end, and you're picking
Who
the
is
right cause.
This actor, though, I've never seen. I had no idea this was even a cut.
Yeah, Michael Biehn. He was in Terminator. He was Kyle Reese, in the original Terminator movie.
That's the one that I always skip. Is the first one. I don't know why.
Yep, and then he was in Alien, the original Aliens movie, not the original Alien, but the second one where they go attack the planet. Aliens,
James Cameron Aliens.
Yep, part 2, and then he was also Johnny Ringo in Tombstone. So I'm your Huckleberry.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
That's perfect for him. Honestly, yeah.
Yeah, so I had a good chuckle because he did get his Johnny Ringo moment there at the end.
Fuck yeah,
against the
they
Mandalorian.
dueled. It was awesome.
Hell yeah. So yeah, it was really cool. And then of course you see all the blaster fights and then Ahsoka Tano. So I just geeked the shit out right there at that moment. Lost my mind. So what'd you guys think about the introduction of Ahsoka?
I'm surprised they introduced her so quick. I was waiting until like maybe the end of the season before I thought I'd see her. So that was awesome.
Yeah. I was surprised they introduced her so early in the episode, that she was the intro to the episode. I thought she would pop up in the middle or
What a
something
sick
like that.
intro to the episode.
Hell yeah. Get to see those lovely white lightsabers lighting up the dark.
Those were pretty cool. I will say, like, that was a pretty cool gimmick that they used in the beginning when she's running through the fog. And it's like lightsaber here, lightsaber there. However, though, I do want to talk about Rosario Dawson for a second. And before I do, I got to know what you guys think of this. First, JJ, I got to know what he thinks compared to the cartoons. But also Ian, and I love that dual wielding sabers. I want to know his opinion before I dive in on this, because I might be prejudiced.
I was worried, as I've told you guys throughout this process of reviewing these episodes, that Ahsoka is probably my favorite. Well, there's no question. She is my favorite character introduced in the animated series and the continuation of the Star Wars lore. By far my favorite character. So I was very worried, especially because Ashley Eckstein, the woman that does the voiceover for her, has just created this amazing character and voiced her, and so I was very concerned. However, I love Rosario Dawson, so I was very excited, and she had shown that she had some interest in playing the character early on in live action, so it was really interesting that they were able to get her. I thought she portrayed her well. I loved that she showed more of a mature version of Ahsoka. We always see her very young in the animated series as a teenager, and then a very young adult in the Rebels version. So this was a much more mature Ahsoka. You can tell she was battle worn. You've seen that she's gone through some things. And so but she still had that playful smile that she used. And crack some jokes, and that was a very Ahsoka thing. So I was overall very pleased with the way that she was portrayed by Rosario Dawson in this.
Sweet. Ian.
Yeah, I think she did great. I mean, if I remember right, Bo-Katan is voiced and played by the same person, right? JJ?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, so I would have loved to have been able to see that with Ahsoka, but I don't think it detracted from the character at all. I think she did awesome.
Yeah.
Also, is it like a white girl who voices her? Because I can see why they didn't do that, honestly.
Yes, she is white, blonde-headed white girl. Yep.
Yeah. Not happening. But Davy Jones, I got to hear what you're thinking.
I mean, honestly, I don't think I have much to add because I haven't been stooped in the cartoon lore. So for me, for what I was expecting, I don't know much about her. So I liked what the character presented. Clearly, there's some kind of snarky witticism that comes along with her, which I'm excited to see how that goes along moving forward. But I mean, I think one of the things I like about this show is it's very well acted. Everyone they seem to bring on fits, and I think they've continued to prove that.
True. All right. Well, so yeah, I've read online that everybody's like in love with her, and my only problem was the first scene. So I don't have a problem with Rosario. I can tell you though, she was in some movie where she was like such a distraction that I was very much worried for all the reasons that the beginning gave me. So the beginning almost looked like Sin City because it was like a CGI background. All of a sudden, Rosario Dawson's perfect face shows up, and I don't know, the action definitely gets better in the episode, and so does the character. And I hope that we get to see more of her so that I can see like different things about her, and she can kind of get like more in depth than just like a bring me on character. But in the beginning, I wrote down, man, I was like, oh shit, like, you know what? I'm not going to be able to see anything but Rosario Dawson. Like, this is going to be terrible. But luckily, with the way the episode like progresses, it draws me in. But that beginning scene, like, it would have been so much cooler if it was a no-name actor. Honestly, if it was a no-name actor and like they showed up with those cool eyes and shit, I would have been like, this is awesome. But because it was Rosario, it took me out of it just for a moment. But then again, I was a little bit tipsy, and she has been, I want to say it's 24th hour where they pin her, even though she's not like some conniving girl or character, but they make her that way in the film. Spike Lee does, to the point that I hated her so much in the film. But and like ever since then, I've been like a little jaded until what's that movie she recently did with Woody Harrelson that was awesome with the zombies? It was like a number 2 of one of those weird zombie movies.
Yeah, Zombieland.
Yeah. So I liked her in that, and then this, she grew on me. But in the beginning, I was like, "Fuck, this is gonna be one of those like Star Wars Episode 1, 2, and 3 type of things."
Yeah, no, I really appreciated her performance, and the only thing, and for me, it's nitpicky stuff because of the love I have for the character. But the way she held her lightsaber is usually the shorter saber she holds backhanded, so it's going away from her down her forearm, and she did it at the end in the final battle with the magistrate, but I was kind of wishing she had done it a little earlier. But again, you got to be able to teach someone how to do that, and I don't know, Rosario Dawson's her fighting abilities, really. I don't know. Not to mention she's got all this makeup, she's got the lacues on her face, and so that was hard. But those were very short compared to the last time we saw her as well. But I get it. You need that mobility in the character. So all those things are very, very get overable for me. Before we move on, I did want to talk about, and this one, this was a major geek out moment for me. So after we're introduced back into with Mando, with Din Djarin and the child, we see he's hunting for her, right? Trying to find Ahsoka. And there's a moment where it pans up, and in the trees, there's a bird. Looks like an owl sitting in the tree. That's a convor, and I lost it. Because I couldn't believe they brought Morai is this character's name. Ian, you just were talking about with me over text these episodes where we're first introduced to Morai. So that character of this bird, this convor, is tied directly to a character in the Clone Wars called the Daughter, and the father, the son, and the daughter are all basically embodiments of the different parts of the Force, the father being balance, the son being the dark side, the daughter being the light side of the Force. And through a very long storyline, the daughter sacrifices herself to save Ahsoka. And from that moment on, the Morai, or this convoy, follows Ahsoka around. And so you'll see throughout episodes in Clone Wars, in Rebels, and now, of course, in Mandalorian, where Morai shows up wherever Ahsoka is. So kind of Morai saves Ahsoka's life a number of times throughout the animated series. So it was really cool for a nerd like me to see that they included Morai. Like, I lost my shit. I was like, that's Morai. Yeah. So yeah, really cool to see that they're following that continuity throughout this show. I really like that. So
I'm glad you liked it too, JJ, because now I like it that I am aware of it.
To me, it was just a bird. I was like,
yeah, I know.
Yeah, same thing, Jay.
Just a nice bird. Good
Cool
job,
bird.
guys.
Yeah, you just think it's part of the planet, and that's it. That's part of I love this. The deep cut shit that they put in this show is just amazing.
What a miserable planet, dude. That place looks terrible.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of shows what they've been doing with that magistrate, how shitty she is, because Bo-Katan explained that as a forest moon when she sent him after her. This is a forest moon. And I was like, whoa, that's not a forest anymore. So, another big reveal that we had during this was, well, there's a couple, but the big one is we now have a name for the child. It's no longer Baby Yoda.
What the fuck? Seriously?
Yeah, dude.
Fucking hell.
Grogu.
I think I would go with this is the Yoda. Like, it needs to be that, I think.
This is the Yoda.
Gorgu? What the fuck is Gorgu?
Grogu, man. Yeah, and so it was really interesting. I did laugh, Jay, because I know you've been trying to get people to vote on a new name for the kids. So I was like, well, now we now have a name for the kid.
Dude, it's a horrible name.
That
it is different. I'm sure there's something to do. Like, I don't know where it came from, but yeah, Grogu is officially his name. And boy, did they try to pound it into our heads, right? Because Ahsoka said it at least 3 times, Grogu. And then finally, the Mandalorian, I think, said it a couple of times, but he reacted to it you could tell quickly. It was I felt bad. I was like, oh, he's like a little puppy. You say their name. My dog does that same reaction.
I didn't notice that.
And yeah, actually, you get his attention with a silver ball instead of like a rock. He's absolutely like a puppy. Fucking Gorgu. So disappointed in this, guys. Unless this comes back to be a deep cut into something, I don't know if I can forgive this. This is bad merchandising.
Agreed.
I think they finally gave him a name just because they were so sick of everybody calling him Baby Yoda.
Everything I've seen, everybody's like, fuck that, Baby Yoda. It was like when Walking Dead started, and it's like, if Daryl dies, we all leave. They're like, fuck Gorgu, Baby Yoda all the way.
Well, and that's the question, I know, right? So you guys going to continue to call him Baby Yoda, or is he Grogu? Because for me, I'm such a purist. I got to call him Grogu from here on out.
He's gonna be a baby fucking Yoda to me. Even though he literally, I now can place where he was alive. Because if she was in charge, because I was watching a few videos to like catch up on some of the things that I kind of missed. And they mentioned that she, and you told me that she was Anakin's like Padawan, or Anakin was like her Padawan, and she talks about like attachment issues with Baby Yoda. And I was like, holy fuck, when they mentioned the planet and I looked it up, I was like, that's where he went straight like serial killer on those kids. Baby Yoda could have been one of those, or Gorgu, whatever the fuck, could have been one of those kids.
Yeah, so it's an interesting concept, right? So she gives an explanation of the fact that this isn't, because I thought maybe this was like a clone of Yoda, which I suppose could still be the case, but there were a couple things that kind of triggered me to think that this might actually be Yoda's kid. So Yoda, there was a female Yoda named Yaddle that was a member of the council that you see in the Phantom Menace, sitting in the council chambers.
Good for Yoda.
Yeah, so Yoda and Yaddle. So the question is, because we find out that Grogu was in the temple, he was being trained by a number of masters. So my brain goes to Yoda, Yaddle. You have Mace Windu, Ki-Adi-Mundi, Plo Koon, all of these great Jedi Masters. Obi-Wan Kenobi probably knew about this dude. All of these guys, because he was born, we know, around the same time in the same year as Anakin. So Anakin at this time would be, if he'd not died in Jedi, he was around 50 years old in Jedi. So we know that he's the same age around what Anakin would be. So he was in his 20s when everything went to hell at the end of the Clone Wars, which is when he would have been hidden and taken from the temple. So now I just have a million questions.
His new name now has to be, I brought it up last episode, Darth Yoda. If he's the same age as fucking Anakin, Darth Yoda is what it needs to be. Why are we doing Gorgu, guys? But holy shit, that's crazy. So he was like a pissed off teenager back in the day. As
yeah, Anakin. No kidding. Well, and it's interesting to think about because you brought up, Jay, the fact that there were the younglings, that Anakin killed the younglings in the Revenge of the Sith.
Sorry, just real quick. Are those the same younglings that they talk about, that Mando talks about in the beginning of the series? Or is that what they mean by younglings, like what we saw Anakin kill?
So younglings were just what they call children in the universe, right? So the children, the younglings would all have been.
So Mando younglings, Jedi younglings, got you.
Yeah, anything that's a part of a group that are children, they call them younglings, it seems. So yeah, we definitely, and there's a meme running around the internet right now that made me giggle. Someone photoshopped Grogu in behind one of the chairs, standing where Anakin walks into that room. You can see his face like poking around one of the chairs. They photoshopped it in. It was great. He's not actually there, but he would have actually, because he was a baby, especially at that point. I mean, he's a baby now at 50. In his 20s, he would have been even younger and probably more of an infant. Would have been in what they called they had the nursery for the babies that were part of the Jedi Order when they took them and brought them to the temple. So that's probably why he wasn't in that group of younglings. But interesting that he's received training up until this point. As you said, he was trained by a number of masters. And you also bring up
telepathic and everything, dude.
Yeah, crazy. Exactly. Communicating through the Force. And you brought up another great point, Jay, that she wouldn't train him because of Anakin. She knows Anakin became Darth Vader. She's one of the few that knew that after he was, because he was already disfigured and in the suit.
After he died.
Yeah. So most people thought he was dead. Obviously, Obi-Wan knew, and she knew because in Rebels, she fights him. She comes face to face with Vader, and at that time didn't know, but she does find out in that episode where they face off. She finds out that he is Anakin, and it kind of breaks her to a degree at that time. So it's an interesting something that happens. So you can see that she is not willing and says, the best of us, what that attachment can do, and he's already attached to
JJ, Mando. I'm excited to talk about Thrawn here shortly. I've read all 6 Thrawn books. How do they say Anakin died? Because in all those books, they imply like he's dead. No one knows that Anakin is Vader, as you described. What is their kind of lie that they tell the universe?
They have told him that he died on Mustafar and with the battle against Obi-Wan. So they say that Obi-Wan killed him. That was they used that as part of the propaganda against.
He's like
the
a
Jedi.
Cautionary tale, right?
Yeah, here's Anakin who turned and was trying to help the Emperor, and then was killed by a Jedi Master, Obi-Wan Kenobi, on Mustafar. So they used that as part of that.
So don't fall in love with Natalie Portman.
She had no shit.
Fuck if I
Too late.
Yeah.
So Matson, you brought up Thrawn at the very end of this episode. Again, another moment, and I actually threw my hands up in the air and
said, dude, I did.
Some
That's one
profanity.
Name I know.
Yeah, because one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars lore, even before he was brought back into canon. The original 3 Thrawn books, and then they've rewritten by the same author ones that are canon, which is amazing. And he was the main villain in 2 seasons of Rebels. So you're very much introduced to him through Rebels. And the last time we see Ahsoka, just to give you some reference as to why she's searching for him, the last time we see Ahsoka at the end of Rebels, she's leaving with Sabine Wren, a member of the Rebels, to go look for one of the Rebels. Wow, my mind just went blank. Ezra Bridger, who is basically the main character, one of the main characters in the Rebels series. He gets teleported by basically giant space whales that can travel at light speed. So they're
That's
really
exactly what I
cool
was
characters.
thinking.
So so these whales are actually where back in the like thousands and thousands of years ago, where light speed was invented from these animals. They can travel through light speed, and so he uses them. Ezra has a connection with animals through the Force, so he uses them to teleport himself and Thrawn away from the planet of Lothal, which is where their big battles are going on. And so Sabine and Ahsoka are leaving to go try to find Ezra Bridger, and who is with Thrawn at the time. So it's kind of cool because it opens up this whole world of, we're going to get Thrawn in a live action, which I cannot wait for, obviously.
Yeah,
and maybe we get Ezra Bridger, who is also a very fun character, very interesting idea there too. So I was thrilled. I lost my shit when she dropped that name.
Thrawn is a very cerebral villain that I'm excited, because Star Wars doesn't really, they don't have those as much. I mean, the Emperor, but they kind of just make him like a kooky old man. Thrawn is calm,
like emotionally
calm,
unstable,
cool, and collected.
Fuck yeah.
Well,
That's what I can't wait to see.
He uses like Civilization's artwork to decide like how they will, as a people, act and like their tactics, and he uses, and then in the book, the most recent book, the last of the new trilogy, he uses music as part of artwork to best his foe, which is cool because it's not that, but it is such a cool character.
It reminds me of a story I know about Hitler, where he destroyed every town that he said he went into. And honestly, when he built internment camps, he built them out of like wood and like burnable stuff, because they would put insurance claims on them, since they knew it'd have to burn them down anyways. But everything he destroyed except for Prague, he was going to leave Prague as a symbol for the a memorial for the Jewish Jewish people, to show people in the future, like, oh, this is what we overcame. Like, just a whole mind fuck of another degree. Luckily, didn't get a chance to do that, but still. But I do feel like this episode was an episode of drops. Like, there's the episode itself of what happened, and then, because there's another thing that we forgot to mention, was the Beskar spear. And I'm so excited to see if that ends up against the Darksaber, now that he's leaving with it. And I don't even know what Mando's mission is anymore now, but still, he's got a fucking Beskar spear, so I'm pretty happy.
Yeah. Well, we know that Gideon's tracking him, right? So it's a nice balance of weapon to the Darksaber, because he now has this spear that he can use to fight the Darksaber effectively. And Mattson, I know you had a question.
Well, I was blown away when he put up his arms to block, and I didn't know Beskar, like, that's invaluable metal right there. I didn't know you could stop a lightsaber. And I don't know. I mean, it looks like it can pretty much withstand it for almost as long as it needs to, or at least enough for like contact, maybe not like prolonged exposure, but enough for like a fighting presence. It's pretty dang cool.
Yeah. It's saber resistant. They're not saber proof. It can be damaged, but it takes time and effort. It's not like most things. I mean, you see Ahsoka chop through that alarm bell, the gong thing, like it was butter, and the tree earlier on that she was cutting through. So sabers can cut through, I mean, almost pretty much anything, but Beskar does have resistance, and it is shown. It was very much part of the Jedi Mandalorian war, when the two factions were up against each other back in the Old Republic, before the Old Republic, actually, I believe that's why they started making their armor out of Beskar. It was because it had that resistance to the lightsabers. Also, something about Ahsoka is she is given during her help she helps out the Mandalorians in the Rebels. Her arms, those arm braces, and then the legs, and then she had a chest piece during that war, are laced with Beskar as well. And so she actually was given a version of Beskar armor for herself throughout that. You don't see the chest piece in this episode, but you do see those arms and the legs.
I mean, even as like an enemy, if they have this kind of, you know, technology, quote unquote, I would use it too. I'll be threading all my shit with Beskar with these. Who knows how some of these Jedis are, man? They try to fucking put a lightsaber in your back, you know, like fuck that.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So, and you're right, Jay. There's just so much that gets dropped in this. Do you guys? So I will tell you that they've announced that there's a spinoff for Boba Fett coming. That's been announced.
I heard about that.
Official. It's a limited series, possibly probably one season, maybe two, and it will star the guy that was playing Boba Fett and Jango Fett in the movies. He played the Boba Fett that we saw at the beginning of this season.
Yeah.
And it takes place before this series starts. So between, I believe it's Return of the Jedi and when this series started. So my assumption is we'll find out how he escapes the Sarlacc pit and what's led up to him being where we saw him at the beginning of this season. But that's been official. Based on what the drops, especially the Thrawn drop, I just feel like Thrawn's too big for this series. And he's too good for Din Djarin. This guy, he'll lay waste to Din Djarin. Like there's no... I love The Mandalorian, but Thrawn is just too good. So I feel like there's an Ahsoka show possibly coming, or maybe a live action version of what's left of Rebels. Did you guys kind of get that same feeling that this was building on an established universe now that they've got some fans and everybody loves it?
It's the guy who did Marvel. Everything is a clue to something, you know? Like, if you can think of a prequel, I was just thinking, did they really put him in this season so that we could just get a prequel to find out what he's been doing? Like, is that the whole reason that we just led up to him after 2 seasons? But yeah, I definitely got that feeling with Ahsoka. I was like, oh yeah, we're definitely going to dive into her, and that'll be the Thrawn.
Yeah,
I think it's all of our hopes. I mean, I've always said it's Star Wars. I mean, it's just the way movies are going. If you want to do things well, you can make a great movie. But if you want to dive into the backstory stuff, it's the new age of Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, you name it, Disney Plus in this case. Give me a TV series about it. I'm going to be engrossed. And I think a lot of Star Wars, there's so much to tell because the universe is so large. Like Obi-Wan, which I'm excited to come out. They can do it all, and they have the millions upon millions of fans. So for me, go for it, and hopefully we stick more towards the latter episodes we've been seeing. So you stick to the story. Don't give me all this fluff crap. If you want to do 6 episodes a season and they're amazing, I'm all for that too. Just remember that as a fan, and I'm excited. I'll pay for it all.
Yeah. Yep, that's the feeling I get.
Disney knows how to get your money one way or another, Matt, so don't worry.
Damn straight, Jay.
And you're not wrong, Jay Favreau, man. This guy laid the foundation for Marvel, so he knows how to create a universe. And then don't even get me started on Filoni, because this guy's been living this universe for 20 plus years. So it's amazing the people they have running these. So I'm excited to see how they grow that. Somebody before we started asked me about the white sabers that she has.
I mean, maybe I did, but you read my mind if no one did.
Yeah, so I'll tell you why. It's a very interesting story, and it's rather new to the canon. So it used to be old legend style. The Sith red lightsabers were red because they used an artificial crystal. Instead of a natural kyber crystal, they used an artificial crystal that was designed. That's why it was red. They threw that canon out with Disney, and the new canon is that the kyber crystals are clear, but they take on kind of a level of the wielder's force attunement, right? So a lot of times you'll see green, like with Obi-Wan, because he was a protector, he was a defender, he was honorable. You saw yellow blades with the temple guards, and so they had a different attunement. So each color has a different kind of feel to it. Now, the Sith, the reason that it was red was because they did a process what they call bleeding. They bled these kyber crystals with the dark side of the Force. so they became red through that process. Ahsoka's white blades, she actually loses her green. She gives up her green blades at the end of the Clone Wars, her arc of the Clone Wars before in the end of season 5 of Clone Wars. She gives up her green blades because she leaves the Order. When she comes back in season 7, Anakin gives her blue sabers, and then she leaves those at the gravesite of a bunch of clone troopers after Order 66. And so she leaves those blades, and Vader eventually finds them when he's looking for her. So he finds those. It's a really cool shot. If you want to watch that, just the last episode of the Clone Wars, amazing shot at the end of Vader finding, and Mokai is flying around above Vader's head while he finds that. So another cool one. Anyway, so there's a novel about Ahsoka, and she is hunted by this group of, and my brain is basically this group of force-wielding hunters that Vader comes up with, that go out, and they're introduced in Rebels. They're trying to find her, and she takes one down and takes his lightsaber and deconstructs it, and then reconstructs blades for herself, and then she cleanses the kyber crystals. And so they've been bled, so they're red. She cleanses them with the light side of the Force, and they become white. So that cleansing process makes them white. That's the only way they'll be that way. Otherwise, they're going to have some sort of color to them. So that's why her lightsabers are white. It's also very much an indication of her more of what you would call a gray Jedi. You can kind of see through this episode, which I loved. She has a little bit of darkness to her. She's not afraid to get a little bloodthirsty, and she goes after pretty heavily the enemy, but she's also very light side. She is kind of led this whole movement of new canon of what we used to call the gray Jedi. So you kind of embrace both sides, that true balance of the Force. You're not afraid to lean into the dark side when you need to, but you do things for the right reasons. And so it also was a good indicator of she's not Jedi, but she's also not leaning towards dark side. She's kind of that neutral. So the white, but that's how she got her white sabers, was through that process.
When you were explaining how they cleanse them, I was thinking of like, what if a Jedi, like for real, in real world, landed on Earth, but we didn't have Star Wars, we didn't know what they were, even if we fucking did, I don't know, but they had a broken lightsaber, and they had to explain to you, like, man, I gotta cleanse these crystals. All right, it's all about the rhythms. They sound like a new age hippie. I'd be like, man, get the fuck out of here. You're not no fucking Jedi.
Feel like I'm in Sedona, Arizona, or something. Right?
Exactly. That's exactly where my head went with Sedona. Let me get some moonlight on these. All right, yeah, we're good. Don't worry.
That's funny. I didn't even think about that. I love Sedona. It's a beautiful place, but there's some weird shit that goes on there.
They sell
cool. Yep. Yes, they do. All right. Anything else we need to talk about with this episode?
I mean, there were so many drops that, he picks up the spear. I'm just trying to run through the episode in my head. He picks up the spear, and then he meets Ahsoka, and then we get fucking Grogu, and then we got the two fights, and we get Thrawn, and then so I don't really think we missed too much. I mean, it's so
such a good episode
that I don't even know how we could have even discussed the episode itself with everything they just threw on us here.
Oh, I did forget the very end when Ahsoka sends him to, and I can't remember the planet's name. That's on me, but there's an old ruined Jedi temple that's strong in the Force, and so she tells him to take him there, and there's a possibility. So this opens up a whole nother possibility of who we can meet here, right? So takes him, and if he calls out through the Force, you might have Jedi, though there's not many left, search for him. So I mean, you open up to Luke Skywalker at that point. You open up to the introduction of possibly any other surviving Jedi that we don't know about. Maybe an Ezra Bridger comes and finds him. I mean, there's just so many possibilities. I guess there's not a ton, but you might have Cal Kestis from the Jedi Fallen Order game that came through. There's so many opportunities for more introduction of characters that we may or may not know is alive. I laughed and I was like, what if Mace Windu's still alive?
I know. I did want to ask you, how do you explain Mace Windu's purple lightsaber in the lightsaber lore you talked about?
That's a great one. So really the lore of the purple lightsaber is that Mace Windu actually embraced the dark side when he battled. He used the seventh form of lightsaber combat, which is called Va'apad, and you actually tap into the dark side of the Force. And so his lightsaber was kind of in between blue and red, so purple. That's how they explained it. The reason he got a blue lightsaber is because Sam Jackson told George Lucas, "Look, dude, you're giving me a fucking purple lightsaber, or I ain't doing it."
yeah. That's what I was hoping, because I remember hearing that.
Yeah.
That's
Also,
really cool, though.
Mace Windu, he took some Molly and he was listening to EDM.
Yeah,
That's why I call him like the ecstasy or whatever it was. Because that was just a light show that I loved.
Yep. Well, and he was fun too because Sam Jackson told him, he goes, "Look, dude, when I get in a big fight, I want people to be able to look and go, oh, there's Mace Windu,' because it's the only purple saber on the field."
For those of you that are wondering who Sam Jackson is, just remember it's Samuel L. Jackson. JJ's just cooler than us, and
That's fair.
knows him on a different name basis. Or
Hey,
something.
at least we're
just-
not like calling him. What's the guy from who's Morpheus again? I saw somebody do that on an interview with
Oh,
him.
yeah,
They
Lawrence
called him-
Fishburne?
Yeah, Lawrence
Yeah, and they're
Fishburne.
like Lawrence, and he was like, "God damn it, we don't all fucking look the same."
Well, no, they asked him about a commercial, like some commercial he did, and he's like, "That was Lawrence Fishburne. That's not." Oh God, yeah, that poor interviewer was wrecked. Oh yeah, Samuel L. Jackson. I say Sam Jackson because I can't say Samuel L. Jackson very well. That's why it's not. It's not because I'm cooler.
That makes sense. Yeah,
I
it's
all
just
good.
Samuel L. Jackson.
I had to think for a second. I was like, wait, I know this actor. I just need to throw in the L. So all good. Well, good deal. Good episode.
And he also had badass motherfucker like etched in his lightsaber hilt.
Did he? Oh yes, that's awesome.
So,
I got to watch the movies all over just for that.
Awesome. It's awesome. All right. Well, Mattson, why don't you tell everybody where they can find us?
Yeah, if you want to listen to us, you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Ghana, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, many other places as well. Come engage with us on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. Otherwise, enjoy the winter coming up and the holiday season, and we will be back with a bunch more amazing podcasts.
Sweet. And we look forward to next week when we will be back for chapter 14. I'm excited to see where this thing goes, man. So thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.
Bye.